Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and today is going to be a somber and sad show because we get to react to the San Francisco 49ers Week 18 season finale winner-take-all loss to the Seattle Seahawks in a 13-3 horrific, made me want to go get the barf bag performance by the red and gold out there in prime time for the entire world to see. And I think that's what we're going to try to do today is cope with the loss, discuss what the future may hold for San Francisco as they have now fallen to the 6th seed in the NFC wildcard picture and are guaranteed a trip to Philadelphia for the first time since 2023 in a rematch of the 2022 NFC Championship game. It'll be Brock Purdy's revenge if he can be healthy and play the entire game out there whenever the game is on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday against Philadelphia in the wild card round. But we have to discuss first what led to San Francisco no longer having an opportunity to have the number one seed in. With it in their grasp a handful of times, how did this game get away from San Francisco? And more importantly, is there any hope this team can win a playoff game knowing that's how bad they can play? Because my God, and we'll get into the good, the bad, the Purdy of it all, but this performance by the San Francisco 49ers, quite frankly, it was pathetic and it was overall embarrassing. Now, I know the box score may say 13-3. The Seahawks missed 2 field goals. They should have scored in the first drive of the game. This game could have easily been at least 19-3, but this game could have easily been in the 20s to 3. It should have been a blowout. San Francisco had no reason and right being in this game late in the fourth quarter. This is the offense that torched the Bears defense, an offense that was averaging nearly 35 points a game over the last month, and they walked in with home field advantage in a game that anybody would at least give them a fighting chance in, and they didn't just crap the bed, they crapped the diaper, they crapped the crib, they crapped the litter box. This was one of the worst offensive performances we have seen, not only from a Niners offense, but a Niners offense under Kyle Shanahan. The 3 points is their lowest total since Week 15 of last year against the Rams when they scored 6 points, couldn't get in the end zone. You know that game, Dre Greenlaw comes back. Yeah, that one. It's also the 7th time the Niners have scored under double-digit points since Kyle Shanahan took over in 2017. I believe of those 7, at least 4 of those took place in 2017 with Brian Hoyer and C.J. Beathard playing quarterback. That's how historic and horrific Saturday night's game was against the Seahawks. It was historically bad from all ends, the run game, the passing game, skill positions, and defense, all the way around. The Niners had no business being in this one. And look, they deserved to lose this game by a lot more. This is also another statistical mark you don't really want to read off, but you have to because it goes into just how bad things have been for Kyle Shanahan when trailing in the fourth quarter. The Niners, since 2017, are now 1-39 when trailing by 7+ points in the fourth quarter. In 40 games, they have won one time when trailing in the fourth quarter by 7 or more points. I mean, how does that happen? Now, San Francisco has been playing from ahead a lot, and so when you're playing from ahead, those numbers can be skewed, but my God, they were brutalized. This was like when your older brothers would take you out in the back and say, hey, you want to play? And by playing, they meant, we're going to beat the crap out of you. That's what this was. This was, we're going to go see your cousins for the next week and a half, and they bully you the entire time. The Seahawks walked into San Francisco's home, knew they were the better team, played like the better team, smoked cigars in their locker room, and even left some essentially alluding to the thought that we'll be back to finish these off in the Super Bowl. The Niners should feel embarrassed. They should feel like they got punked and like they are one of the worst playoff teams right now in the NFC. Now, that doesn't mean they can't fight their way back. It doesn't mean the season's over by any means. I've seen so much of that. And And I get it, right? This is a demoralizing loss that the number one seed could have given San Francisco so much hope, right? You get a bye week, you get Trent back, you get Pearsall back, you give the guys that are right now playing and starting when they really shouldn't be a week off, a week to recoup. Maybe you get healthier. Some guys that have injuries or some bruises can hopefully have those heal as well. And maybe even get Fred Warner back, who, according to reports, is targeting the divisional round. This game was what could be a big door opening effort or opportunity for San Francisco. And again, they blew it. Now they have to go to Philadelphia on the road at the Link. And if they get lucky, maybe play a division round game at home, but the odds are not in their favor. You'd have to have teams like, you really couldn't get a home game in the divisional round. It's the NFC Championship game. You may get a home game, but a lot has to happen for San Francisco. And now your season goes from what I think a lot of fans would agree of, wow, we have a chance here to, you got slim to none chances of winning 3 potential road playoff games just to get to the Super Bowl. You have to win against the second best defense in the entire conference to maybe get Fred Warner back, and that's if Trent and Pearsall are healthy. It just was a big disadvantage to lose this game. A lot of fans believe this was the season-ending loss, and they're going to walk into Philadelphia and be one and done, which it could happen. We'll get more into that game later on in this show, but also later on in the week when we get injury reports and we know more about what that game looks like. But that leaves this game. Again, Kyle Shanahan. I love Kyle Shanahan. I want to praise him first because he deserves Coach of the Year. They lost this game, and I get that. Maybe McDonald deserves it now for Philadelphia. Mike Vrabel, is in that conversation too. I think that with what they've lost, you know the story, right? Shanahan deserves, I think, at least consideration and heavy consideration. To lose all the guys they've lost and still won 12 games and go through the adversity they have been through and still come out on top. And, I think within that, the season's over. That was a season-ending loss, right? Condemning loss against Seattle. I do think that it's important to look at the bright side of things for a little bit because there is a game to be played still, and maybe 2, 3, 4 of those if they get really lucky. But to go 12-4, to have a reset year end in a playoff appearance and be vying for the number one seed, and quite frankly, I think outplaying the Rams the last month and a half of the season, and this, that, and the other. I just think they ran into a team that has Shanahan's number. What do I mean by that, though? Diving into Shanahan's record against Mike Macdonald, the Seattle Seahawks head coach and by proxy defensive coordinator, Shanahan has been pretty bad against that defense. Now, sometimes you have one-off bad games and you can erase it and move on. San Francisco is in that category now, saying, look, it's one bad hiccup. Can we move forward and be okay? And can we kind of watch it away and move on? But there's a track record now forming. And this was one of the concerns when Seattle hired Macdonald after 2023 when he was in Baltimore. That's right, Christmas night, Niners having a great season, and they come in and they were buzzsawed of this offense that at that time had Ayuk, Debo, Kittle, and all those guys healthy, and Christian McCaffrey, winning Offensive Player of the Year that season. That was the concern, that Macdonald was the Shanahan kryptonite, and you give him time, and the Seahawks are going to be, a big problem for San Francisco and be a big thorn in Shanahan's side, and that's really been the case over the last 5 games or so. Shanahan against Macdonald head-to-head is now 2-3 all time. They have won 2 road games and lost all 3 of their home games against the Macdonald-led Ravens defense in 23 and, of course, the Seahawks the last 2 seasons. They've been outscored 103-92, so about a 10-point differential. Not bad, but knowing how good this offense has been, 2 of the last 3 years, not great by any means. The kicker is, in those 5 games, San Francisco is averaging 18.4 points. Now, when you score 3, obviously it skews negatively, but averaging 18.4 points against an opponent for a Shanahan-led offense with Brock Purdy, who was having a killer December, and was having a killer 2023, really isn't what you want to hear. And it does, again, allude to the fact that this, I think, is the worst case scenario for San Francisco, that maybe you beat Seattle, you split games this year, obviously 1-1, beat them to open the season and lose to them to end the season. But there is a Jim Schwartz-esque trend being set by Seattle that these AFC North defenses, Shanahan really can't get over. Now, Shanahan beat Schwartz this season, but there was a pretty ugly track record behind the scenes of, this is not good news for Kyle whenever you're playing the Browns. Now there is a trend of, this is not good news for Kyle when you're playing the Seahawks. And to make matters worse, they're in your own division, and you have to play them not once, but twice a year. And you may even get into the thought that if you want to go to a Super Bowl this season, you might have to play them 3 times, and the last time at their place, and you never want to go to Lumen Field in front of the 12s in a playoff-like atmosphere. San Francisco has been somewhat successful in passing the ball against the McDonald-led defenses, over 219 yards per game. So, knowing this offense, it's a run first offense, so passing yards shouldn't be, I guess, praised or kind of nitpicked. But when they have 349 total yards per game and 219 of those are through the air, and you have 130 on the ground, you would think, well, that's actually pretty good. You should be outgaining opponents. Yet again, you are 2-3 against a McDonald defense, going to the fact that the Seahawks have played and the Ravens played bend don't break, and you also have 9 total turnovers against, again, the Seahawks and Ravens under McDonald. So we are seeing a kryptonite forming. Again, they have won some games, and maybe there is something to the road and home split thing to it, but not great. Not great for Kyle, and I think it showed on Saturday night, because this Niners offense was suffocated on all fronts. This was like a snake wrapping around its prey and squeezing the life out of it, not for 1 quarter, not for a half. This was a complete 4-quarter domination by this Seahawks defense. Getting into the run game for San Francisco, I thought the Niners would have had some success on the ground, running their power run scheme. Obviously, you lose Trent, it hurts you. You have Awesome Pleasance out there, which was one of my concerns coming into the game, and that kind of showed its face in this one. But excluding Purdy's 2 scrambles, San Francisco ran the football 10 times. This game was a 1-score game through most of it, right? They ran the football 10 times for 31 yards. That's right, 10 times for 31 yards. When you have Christian McCaffrey off 2 back-to-back 100-yard-plus games, that's terrible. Their longest run was for 6 yards. Now, San Francisco hasn't been the explosive running attack they were a couple years ago, but 10 carries, 31 yards, that was a willful choice to stop running the football. Now, it wasn't working by any means, but the Seahawks did exactly what the Niners defense failed to do. Take away the run, which kills any hope of play action. And again, you saw why and how it happened. The Seahawks were playing about 5 to 6 DBs each play. They're great tacklers. I think that was the biggest difference in this game defensively. Almost every play, whether it was a completed pass, an incomplete pass, a run, the first guy brought down the ball carrier for San Francisco. There was a defender there to hit the Niner ball carrier immediately. And if you happen to break a tackle, which didn't happen much in this game for San Francisco, there was a wall of Seahawks defenders right there ready to take your head off. I mean, they rendered Christian McCaffrey borderline useless in this game. And going to the box score for a second, Christian McCaffrey ran the football 8 times for 23 yards. He caught 6 passes for 34 yards. So Christian McCaffrey, who was known to have 20-plus carries a game, over roughly 100 scrimmage yards per game this season. He almost had 1,000 seasons in 2025. Touched the ball 14 times for, 57 yards. 14 times for 57 yards. That's not where you want to be if you are Shanahan and the rest of this San Francisco offense, and not how you want to utilize CMC and see his production go in one of the biggest games of the season. Now, again, tackling was a big reason for this, and also a big reason for San Francisco's woes on the ground was the offensive line. Now, PFF can sometimes not be accurate. I think sometimes they miss some things, but for this case, I think it's pretty accurate. I think that this works. Where coverage grades sometimes are iffy and some receiver stats are iffy and whatnot because they don't really know the plays being called. That said, I think in this case, the offensive line for San Francisco deserved the grades they got, in which three of their offensive linemen, three of them, were the three of the five lowest graded offensive players for San Francisco. It's Jake Brendel, it's Austin Pleasance, and I think it was Dominic Puni. If not, it was Burford. Either way, it's either your entire left side of the offensive line, or it is your left tackle blocking your quarterback's blind side, or your center and right guard who have been actually pretty good the last month or so. And look, they gave Brock Purdy no time to throw. They couldn't open up lanes. And Seattle was bringing four-guy fronts. It wasn't like they blitzed a lot. It wasn't like they were stacking the box. This was, we're just going to consume you guys, really. Niners want to talk about swarm and all gas, no brakes. I don't know if I've seen a defense, maybe outside of the Houston Texans, play that aggressive and be that good playing near the line of scrimmage all year. I'm not going to sit here and complain about the refs and the Niners got, they almost had it. No. The Seahawks deserve so much credit. The Seahawks are a great defense. Now, their offense, I think, has some holes, and we'll get that in a second, but the Seahawks defense is tremendous. And you saw, this is one of the first times all year, albeit it hasn't happened much. And really, it's one of the first times, maybe excluding 2024, where Trent missed half the season, where in the small amount of games Trent misses, you really feel it. There was a game in 2021 where McKivitz played left tackle against the Rams in the season finale. They won that game. You didn't feel Trent's absence that much. And he's been pretty healthy the past couple of seasons, but 2024 excluded from that. I don't know. This was a game where you watched it and you said, wow, there is a black hole on the left side of the offensive line that is just waiting to get ripped through. It was like paper mache with Austin Pleasance. He was terrible. You missed him so much in the running game, but also in the screen game. The Niners try to trot out this, get the ball out quick, kind of let their skill position players, Kittle, Robinson, Bourne, Jennings, let them get the ball and let them go to work, which did not work at all. I thought it was pretty stupid. But okay, if you want to do that, guys have to block. Your offensive linemen have to pull out, get into space, and engage Seahawks defenders and just hope you can get 4 to 5 yards per carry, because that'll get you a first down and hopefully keep the drive alive. But Austin Pleasance had a 39.6 pass blocking grade. It showed on tape. And a 35.1 run blocking grade, which, again, has to be one of the worst grades they've given out all year long. It was terrible. There was no lanes to run. He couldn't get out in space on time. There was a big play to Kittle where I think Emmanuel got a tackle, which we'll get to him in a second too, where Emmanuel is essentially in man coverage against Kittle. And the ball was snapped. Pleasance is supposed to engage the defensive lineman in front of him, release as they get sucked into the screen. The ball goes to Kittle, and Pleasance pulls out and gets Emmanuel. What happens? Pleasance can't release soon enough. Then when he does release, the ball is already in the air and in Kittle's hands. Well, by that time, Seattle's sitting there waiting for it. Boom, loss of 6, and you get yourself behind the sticks on first and second down. That happened a ton in this game. And it goes to, again, Seattle's credit. Their defense, again, suffocating like a snake. He was like an anaconda, right? It's like the Niners were John Voight with a crappy accent on a boat in the Amazon, and they're waiting for a snake to get him, right? And that's what this was. Again, like, you don't have Trent. A loss will be there. there'll be a hole, but how do you mitigate that? And I think that Shanahan did a pretty crappy job trying to lessen or limit the loss of Trent Williams. Of course, there's a play in here, or, which we'll get to on fourth down. But I think one of the biggest concerns I had, and I mentioned it on the podcast previewing this game, that my biggest concern was, Pleasance. But on top of that, you have Pleasance against, Uchenna Nwosu, DeMarcus Lawrence, attacking veteran pass rushers that are aggressive, mixed with Seattle's aggressive defense behind them that want to hit you guys hard, want to get in your grill, and want to knock you around a bit. Okay, how do you scheme against that? You get your quarterback on bootlegs, utilize Purdy's mobility. He's looked pretty mobile the last, month or so. And you give him clear lanes to throw with no pressure in his face. Don't let him be a sitting duck in the pocket. Again, get him in space on bootlegs, away from pass rushers, away from defenders. And even if guys aren't open to pass to in the flat downfield, Purdy can at least run for a few plays or, extend a few drives for you offensively and get you more than 3 points. What did Kyle do? He said, nope, sitting duck, nope. You're going to sit in that pocket like a statue unless you absolutely have to run. I think it's inexcusable for a genius like Kyle, who is having a heck of a season as a play caller. This is one of the best seasons he's ever had as a play caller, to put that on display, to know you don't have Trent, to not have Ricky Pearsall, to know you only have Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, Juwan Jennings, and George Kittle. And I love George Kittle and the rest of those guys too, but none of those guys are real separators. Now, Kittle can beat a lot of great defensive players, as he has over his, near 10-year career, but, you're not doing your quarterback favors, and you're not doing your skill position guys favors either, because those guys can't separate. So what are you asking those guys to do? Okay, beat guys in coverage 1v1. Okay, well, the quarterback has no time to throw. And when he does have time to throw, those cornerbacks are better than us. And they're in our face. They're mirroring us. They're playing press coverage. We cannot separate against these guys. That's not our game. Bourne, Jennings, and Robinson need to be schemed open. Now, they can be good receivers for you. We've seen Kendrick Bourne, 600-plus yards this year. Juwan Jennings, 9 touchdowns this season. Even DeMarcus Robinson has beat some teams late on the back end. Those are schematic things. And Shanahan didn't get the quarterback moving, didn't even make the Seahawks defense think about Purdy and his legs. Purdy scrambled twice in this game. They weren't designed. Why? Now, I'm not saying utilize the read option, but get him out in the open, in the flat, though. And I will always go back to this. I talked about this so much. And now the Rams lost this game, but in 2019, the Rams knew Jared Goff is our quarterback. The Niners have Nick Bosa, Dee Ford, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, DJ Jones, and a bunch of other dudes. Ronald Blair Jr., I think, was there, or RB3 was there, excuse me. And they have Warner and Greenlaw and a blitzing K'Wan Williams. Like, it's a ferocious pass rush. Robert Sala's calling plays. What did they do? They said, Goff is a statue. He can't move. We are going to get him killed in that pocket. Let's utilize bootlegs. Get him on the move. Get him out of the pocket. And let's get him some free space, some quick, easy throws, and avoid having him under duress, maybe take sacks, maybe get hurt. And that was not the case. And again, the Rams lost that game, but it took a Herculean, back-to-back 3rd and 14, 3rd and 15 conversions by San Francisco, and a Fred Warner pick six in the second half to help win that game for them at home against McVay and Goff. That said, that bootleg crap worked for the Rams in that first half. When the game got tighter and San Francisco finally gained momentum, it shifted, but the Niners in this game didn't have any momentum. Any. And the one drive, they finally were moving the football downfield. What happened? They used Purdy's legs, got him out in the open, on the run, to Kittle, bang, 20-plus yards downfield. Because what does it do? It makes the defense have to be honest, right? It's no different than when the defense realizes, okay, we don't trust your quarterback and you aren't going to throw deep. What do? You take a few deep shots early, make them say, oh, this game might be different. It just makes the defense be on their toes more and maybe get caught up and make a mistake. And it did on that one drive for San Francisco, which again didn't end in points. It ended in turnover, but like you saw, like, oh, we're finally alive now. And I don't know what Kyle thought about that. I don't know why the thought process was let Purdy drop back, 30 times, 25 plus times and get killed on every single play. There was pressure in his face all day. And again, that's one of my questions about Shanahan's play calling. But the big one was the fourth down, right? It's 4th and 1. Really close game. San Francisco is on Seattle's 40-yard line. I love going forward here. You want to extend the drive. You can maybe get some, a touchdown, or at least, bleed some clock. Keep yourself in the game at that point in time, because right now it's looking rough, or at the time looking rough. And you saw on 4th and 1, instead of running a quarterback sneak or a fullback dive, which I hate that play, but may have worked in this case, who knows, or trying to find something short near the sticks, because you knew you really can't pass the ball against the Seahawks defense, knowing the guys you don't have, which we'll get into Pearsall in a second too, because his loss was huge in this game. But on 4th and 1, Shanahan calls a play action. And it's like, what are you doing? It's 4th and 1. You know the Seahawks are bringing it because they're thinking you're going to run the football. So to outsmart them, and again, it's mind-boggling. I'm trying to think of how could this work. You run play action. The minute Purdy turns around, a Seahawks defender's right in his face. From wherever you're watching, I don't know, about 3 yards away, there's a Seahawks defender right there. So Purdy's jump throwing in the air, kind of like moving his body and kind of contorting his body, and it's incomplete. It has no chance. And it's like, wow, well, that was a play call and not a good one. It was really confusing. It was really just like, what is the thought process there? And that kind of continued the entire game. Again, going back to not moving Purdy out of the pocket. I would have loved in this case, try an end around, get somebody on the outside, whether it's Kittle or McCaffrey, do something different. You're getting hammered. And we have seen Shanahan be more creative against worse defenses at times. You go back to that, the game against the Saints in 2019, and I'm sure there's more examples of this, but that game comes to mind off the top of my head, where you have Emmanuel Sanders throwing passes downfield, and that was a massive touchdown pass for San Francisco. I'm not saying do that play. I'm just saying, where's the creativity? And they tried one of those plays later, but it didn't work. It turned into a check down for Brock Purdy. But I don't know. It's just, it felt like you're trying to outsmart the opposing team, which is kind of the name of the game, but it's like you're outsmarting yourself, which has been a big negative for Kyle in big games this season. And against a defense you really can't score against, again, 18 points per game, it was just like you had no answer. The Seahawks gave the Niners ample opportunity to get back in this game. San Francisco's defense, for how bad they were, gave them ample opportunities to get back in the game. Again, they were ringing. You were getting pinged. You were getting paged and buzzed and facts like, hey, pick up the phone, brother. And Shanahan was like, I'm sleeping at the wheel. Left on red. And it's like, ooh, it hurts. Man, that hurts. What about Brock Purdy, though? Again, didn't love Kyle's game plan. The offensive line was terrible in this one. They just got their ass kicked. That's what this was. It was a whooping. It was like your mom gets home from work and she sees the mess you made, and it's like you're getting the wooden spoon and the belt. And then I'm telling Dad it's going to get worse for you. And you're like, please don't. Please don't. And then you have 2 hours to sit and think about, my dad's going to kick my you-know-what, and I'm going to be in big trouble. That's what this game was like for Niner fans, of hey, we have hope, but it was just play after play. Nothing, offensively at least, could get done. But what about Brock Purdy? You know, a demoralizing loss. Those of you out there that maybe have been skeptical of San Francisco's playoff chances or have been waiting for the bow to break. The quote has been, I've heard, well, when San Francisco plays a good defense, they'll be exposed. You have a lot of reasons to hold your head high after this one. And maybe not high in a way of like, I'm proud, but more of like, I told you so. And, I think a lot of us that have been more believers in at least the odds of San Francisco's success have felt that way. Again, you beat the Bears 2 weeks ago. You feel really good. You escape with that win. You beat the Colts. And they've had some more improbable wins early in the season with Mac Jones playing quarterback too, of like, this team has a lot of grit and fight in them. And I think they still do, but this is a game where the detractors have every reason to at least walk into work on Monday and be like, what a joke. And, you hear people on social media, kind of like, you see, I told you it's going to happen. And it's like, yeah, it sucks, man. It's one of those games where it makes you question the validity of the success San Francisco's had. A lot of times you talk about, that's a weak number 1 seed or a bad division winner. Like the Panthers, for example, right? They won the division via losing against the Buccaneers, but because the Falcons beat the Saints, it created a 3-way tie and Carolina snuck in. We all can say the Panthers are a weak number 4 seed and probably shouldn't host a playoff game, but I digress. Meanwhile, I'm sure some Niner fans are like, you're a week 12 win team. And I think that's somewhat misguided, but I think a lot of people tend to turn that onto Brock Purdy of like the average fan says, oh, Purdy couldn't get it done. And sure, to some extent, some of the blame has to go on Brock Purdy because he wasn't great. In fact, he wasn't good. And a lot of the belief of how far this team can go is placed on the expectation that Purdy has been phenomenal over the last, month or so. And to come in to week 18 and lay that egg, to not get in the end zone once, to miss a couple of plays that I think he should have hit. One of the big ones I thought he should have had was on 3rd and 2. San Francisco's offense just cannot move the football. And Demarcus Robinson runs past the sticks, is kind of on a comebacker, but not a deep comebacker. And Purdy underthrows the route, and Robinson has to come back for it behind the sticks and gets tackled, ends the drive for San Francisco. You want that ball driven towards the sideline more, or you don't mind Robinson finishing towards the sticks or a little bit past them, but you can't have drives end because your quarterback can't make that throw. And we've seen Purdy make that throw in previous games plenty of times. But it was an uncharacteristic game, at least from what we've seen over the last month, where Purdy was under duress, throwing off his back leg, making jump throws, and felt really squirmish against that Seahawks defense, which again goes back into the bad offensive line play, the lack of adjustments by Kyle in the play calling and whatnot. And just like, this is ugly. Like the Niners didn't get past Seattle's 35-yard line until 12 minutes and 6 seconds in the fourth quarter. Like, that's insane. Meanwhile, the Seahawks marched onto San Francisco's 1-yard line in the first drive. And it's like, it was a complete dominating performance by Seattle. The Seahawks have every reason to hold their head high. They whumped, stomped, clumped, fomped, drumped, whatever word you want to make up. Like, it was just a complete annihilation by Seattle on San Francisco's offense that has just been rolling and riding really high. And I think that is why the loss hurts. Of like, if it was a back and forth duel and San Francisco just kind of crumbled towards the end because the defense wasn't great. Okay, that's the defense. That's what you're waiting for, right? That's the expectation of like, yeah, you don't have your guys. They're not very good against the run, not great against the pass, and then kind of been holding things together and kind of duct taping and band-aiding things as the year's gone on. So if the defense faltered, that's fine. But nobody was expecting the offense to falter. And while Purdy had his faults, like in that 3rd and 2 play to Robinson, don't love that. But he also had some great throws. It's 3rd and 10. Purdy evades a sack and it finds Jennings for a first down. I think it was towards the left sideline, I think. And kind of get you fired up and say, we're just so close to getting back in this game. And then later in the game, when they're making that one drive you thought may be the big one to march back in this one and maybe make a run towards a victory, who knows? Purdy, again, finds Kittle for about 20 yards downfield. They get past Seattle's 35-yard line, and they're moving the football. And then he throws a beautiful, and I cannot understate how beautiful this throw was. A layered throw to Dwan Jennings towards the right sideline. It was over Devon Witherspoon's hand, a layered throw. The defender jumps up, tries to knock it down. It's just right over the top, is perfection. Laced it right to him. And it was like, ooh, like we're right on the precipice of finally knocking the door down and saying, honey, I'm home. Getting the crowd in the game and kind of putting the Seahawks on their heels. So you have to make a play now, which is exactly where you want to put Seattle. Like, make Darnold do something, which I don't think Darnold played great at all in this game. But, of course, when you think San Francisco is finally picking things up and they've cracked the code on this defense, Purdy throws the football. Boye Mafe tips at the line of scrimmage. It somehow goes to Christian McCaffrey, which he has two hands on it, but thrown behind him. And the defender, who was not going for the football, going for the tackle on CMC, the ball just lands right in his hands. And he's like, oh, look what I found. And you're just like, that has to be some of the luckiest things I've ever seen. Now, again, the Niners didn't deserve to be in this spot. They didn't deserve to win this game by any means. But you're like, man, what a lucky bounce for a team that in this game didn't really need it at all. But that was the backbreaker. My wife was at the house and I was like, well, that's it. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, no, that's it. That was the collective kind of, you had the breath, like you took your last breath as a fan. My wife is watching Chicago Med and a lot of people die in that show and the last breath really isn't quite pleasing to watch, but it's like the and they're dead. And that was like San Francisco. Yeah, the hopes are over. And it sucked. And a big reason for San Francisco's offense struggling was their inability to scheme against Nicky Manwari. He was a monster. We knew he'd be a monster. Now, I think Manwari can still be had in coverage. I'll stand by that. I think this defense can be had in coverage. But a big reason why San Francisco couldn't even test it was because they didn't have Pearsall and they couldn't keep Purdy upright. You don't do those things. You don't have a separator offensively, which wouldn't it be great to have Ayuk and Pearsall healthy and have Ayuk not blow his freaking brains out, just trying to be an idiot, right? Out there speeding in front of Levi's and being like, I don't want to play anymore. It's like, what's going on? Like, it's one of these games you're like, we're supposed to have two of those guys and we have none of those guys that can separate against press and man coverage. It's like, but they didn't have the guy I thought they could expose Manwari with, that being Pearsall. And so you're tossing out Juwan and Kittle and Marcus Robinson and Sky Moore and Kendrick Bourne. And you're like, these are all the same wide receiver. They're all the same dude. Like, they're all above 6 foot or around there. They can't separate. They can't really go deep, albeit Robinson has more of that ability than Bourne and Jennings have. And you are asking Purdy under pressure to make tight window throws consistently. That's what last year was like. And they won 6 games because of that. Or in this game, it felt like last year. Now, I think had you had Pearsall, you would have seen the offense run much better and more fluid. But we got to talk about Pearsall. I love Ricky Pearsall. How do you not love what he brings to the offense? When he's healthy, he's awesome. When he's healthy, he's separating, he's beating press coverage, beating man coverage, knows how to sit in soft zones for his quarterback. He has really good hands. He doesn't drop passes usually. and he has some speed. And it's like that is a guy, when healthy, you can usually bank on being consistent. The unfortunate part is he hasn't been healthy for most of the year. Um, when he came back from the injury, got hurt again, but showed against the Tennessee Titans, and I think even against the Bears, like he can be a big factor in beating solid or good enough defenses in the playoffs. And like, man, not having that guy broke this Niners defense back. And again, they only lost by 10 points. And while I don't think if these teams matched up again, this game would have been a 10-point differential. But when you're only down by 10, it makes the absence of Pearsall so much bigger. And, the offense couldn't push the ball downfield. The Seahawks defense could play, 5 yards out, 10 yards out. Not because Purdy doesn't want to throw it deep, because he couldn't, because of the pressure they were getting on the offensive line. But Pearsall has been, a lot of people's banes of existence. And not because, again, the play, it's because of the lack of play. They always say the best ability is availability. And, that was a big reason for Javon Kinlaw, who, wasn't great by any means and still isn't great, but he was always hurt, right? It's a big reason for Drake Jackson, who, again, has not been great. He hasn't played much at all in his career, but it's like you just couldn't stay healthy. And for Niner fans, not that you're having deja vu because Pearsall has been impactful in some ways, there's been 34 games the last 2 years Pearsall has had the opportunity to play in, right? 34 games, 17 weeks each season. Now, you can exclude the being shot through the chest and almost dying part of this, so maybe you remove 6 games off of the docket, but if you don't want to, in 34 games, Pearsall has played in 14. 14 games. He's missed 20 games of the 34 potential ones he can play in. He's missed more games than he's actually played in. And if you want to remove those 6 games you got shot, because he can't help that, he's played in 14 games and he's missed 14 games. And I think, there's bad luck mixed in there that, comes into play, but it's like, God, the Niners really have to find, and this is more of a broad conversation of the injury stuff, they've got to find a way to improve the injury prevention with the way they train, the way they practice. They do not have the ability to go 1 week, 1 practice with someone else getting hurt. And the big thing about this was Pearsall practiced all week. He practiced, Wednesday through Friday, Tuesday through Thursday. He was a participant the entire week. Limited, questionable. Okay, that's fine. We get it. You have lingering issues, right? Everyone does. But then to not play, and then for Kyle to say in the post-game press conference, oh, it was too risky to play him. He played a week ago. And I'm not questioning how injured he was. I'm just questioning, like, what's happening in between games where guys are getting more hurt, And I think it's like that's a big problem. Obviously, injuries have been, one of the underlying tension, filled issues between the fan base and the regime of Kyle and John Lynch. But it's like something's got to give, right? This year or this past year was an offseason of we got to retool special teams, which has worked out tremendously, albeit it cost them somewhat in this game. We'll get into that too later on. But also on defense, getting a new defensive coordinator here in Saleh, getting some hopeful continuity if he doesn't leave in the offseason of like we had to kind of we need to address the kind of the black sheep in the room, right? They did that. I'm hoping this can be the offseason they address the black sheep of the injury stuff because, being hurt on the field, like the way Fred Warner got hurt, the way Bosa got hurt. Okay. Those are freak things. Bosa's had previous injury history, so that's kind of factored into this. But like Michael tearing his ACL at MetLife late in games. Why is he even out there? And then you're hearing the hamstring injuries have been just out the wazoo. Like soft tissue stuff is preventable. The Rams are fully healthy. The Seahawks are fully healthy, basically. Um, and again, every team has injuries, but it's the amount and the consistency in which they happen year by year, which is a problem. There is some misleading information out there of, they changed staffs. They did, but they kept part of it and they promoted those guys. And it's like, that's not what we mean. And I'm not advocating for guys to get fired. You are essentially a nutritionist and a doctor. Go talk to the Rams doctors and nutritionists and training staffs. Go talk to other teams that have found ways to maintain health. Kansas City, maybe not this year, but in previous years, they're always healthy. Why? Philadelphia, most in part, is always healthy. Why? Seattle is healthy this year. Why? Why are they healthier than you? Besides the freak injuries, why do they find ways to make it through seasons relatively unscathed with the plethora of hamstring injuries and ankle injuries? And that brings me to the next question I have. What happened with Jacob Cowing? Now, I'm not banking on Cowing being a major part of, the offensive infrastructure and, kind of leading the receiving core, but like they said he was supposed to be activated, or at least the practice window opened pre-Bears game, shortly after the Bears game, and they didn't do that. Why? Why would you not open Cowing's window knowing Pearsall is not exactly 100%, and of course didn't play in this one? Now, I would assume he got hurt again, and he's hurt his hamstring. That'd be what, the fourth time this year? So what happened? And if that's the case, and guys are re-injuring their hamstrings 4 to 5 times, Yetur Montos in this camp too. He's back, but he had, again, a hamstring injury, supposed to come back, practice one day, and he re-injured again, and he missed the next month or so. Something's got to give, and I'm not blaming the injuries for the loss. San Francisco, again, despite everything I've said for 47 minutes, only lost by 10. Now, it shouldn't have been 10, but it was only 10 points. They lost by 10. 1-0. 2 scores. And it wasn't 10 points till late in the game. This game was a 7-point game for forever. It was 10-3 for about 2 quarters. Despite no Pearsall, a crappy offensive line, Purdy struggles, a terrible play call by Kyle Shanahan on a handful of plays, a lack of skill position players playing well, and no running game, you lost by 10. When you have one issue and then you see another and another and another, it makes all of that more infuriating because you question, well, if you did this, then that could have changed. And again, San Francisco by no means deserved to win this game. They lost for a reason because they weren't good enough. But I do want to give some flowers because where Kittle had 5 catches, 29 yards, rather useless. Christian McCaffrey, again, we already talked about his stats, rather useless. Juwan Jennings, 4 for 35, rather useless. 27 dropbacks. Purdy had a 22.8 QBR, a 64.9 rating, and 3 sacks, and 1 not his fault interception, right? Where the offense deserves a big, I do want to give, albeit a little bit of praise, to the defense. Because, again, this defense played bend, don't break for nearly 4 quarters. We'll get into the bad stuff because it's a lot. It shouldn't have been 13-3. It should have been a much, much worse score, but that's the NFL sometimes. Teams make mistakes. Matthew Stafford has looked pretty bad the last 2 weeks against the Falcons and against the Cardinals. They almost lost that game against Arizona today at home. You've seen teams a lot make dumb mistakes. Eagles playing backups lost to Josh Johnson. What's that about, right? Now, I think they tried to lose that game to play San Francisco, but I'll remove my tin-foil cap for a different day. And you saw Chicago lose to Detroit, and they tried to win that game, and they lost. And Detroit, although it was a fine team, they got injuries out the wazoo like San Francisco does, right? But
Why do growing businesses love working in Slack? Let's ask Christy at Ari Bikes.
Running things in Slack saves me so much time.
AI summaries save 97 minutes per week. What say you, Rox from Gosney?
Slack helps us build community, it helps us build connection.
Your partners, vendors and customers all in one place. Take us on home, Ashley from Caraway.
If we didn't have Slack tomorrow, I would explode.
Well, let's not let that happen. Visit slack.com/podcast to get 50% off Slack Business Plus.
I want to give flowers to a couple of guys, mainly one person, and that is Upton Stout. Upton Stout, my brother, you came to play. You were one of the few defensive players that came to play and did their job at a consistent rate. This dude is a DAWG dog. Again, there's been coverage issues, but you've seen Upton Stout progressively get better as time goes on. That was what they were hoping for the entire draft class, and a lot of those guys have had to play out of position or at least out of turn where they were rotational pieces. Now they're starting guys, right? They're playing over their skis, right? Upton Stout has been a starter from day one. Hasn't lost his job, hasn't been benched, and has gotten better all year. And I think one of the reasons why is because where he lacks in height and size, and sometimes coverage ability, he makes up for it at the line of scrimmage in run defense. Dare I say, your nickelback shouldn't be your best run defender. You got 7 guys on your front 7. 7 on the front 7 makes sense because there's 7 guys, right? The 8th guy on the nickelback spot should not be your best run defender. The smallest guy on the entire defense is outrun defending your 2 safeties and your entire front 7 right now. And in this game, he was awesome. A 3rd and 14, where San Francisco has been terrible at stopping defenses or offenses on 3rd and long. Colts back to back, like 3rd and 12s allowed. In this game, a big 3rd and 17 allowed. Upton Stout on a screen pass, I think it was to Cooper Kupp, breaks off of his guy blocking him, wraps him up, makes a big tackle, and forces what became a missed field goal. That's a play where you would circle had San Francisco won, saying, wow, Upton Stout, what a game-changing play that no one's talking about. And even later, on 3rd and 7, a completion to Eric Saubert, who makes a great tackle. Upton Stout, I think he forced a punt, or at least forced a field goal again. Upton Stout deserves flowers because he was one of the few guys on defense that came to play and actually made what could have been, at the time were, game-changing defensive plays. I think Lenore belongs in this category too. Again, he had a couple big blips, a big DPI on him against Jason in the end zone, but they didn't score, right? Seattle goes for it. They didn't score. Okay, first drive of the game, they're trying to be aggressive. You get away with that. Later in the game, a big stop in the red zone, right? And there were a couple of those in this game. And once again, Lenore, being a 5'10", 5'9" cornerback, along with Stout, who's 5'8", I think, those guys shouldn't be your best run defenders, and they are. It's just sad. It's sad. That said, that's kind of it. They held Seattle to 13 points. I don't know how it happened. Seattle made mistakes, but you'll take it. 13 points. The defense, for as bad as they were, technically, at the end of the day, did their job. They held the opposing offense to 13 points. Even if that means the opposing offense bailed them out at times, it's still 13 points. And even if it was the 2 field goals made by Josh Myers and it was 19 points, you held the Seahawks under 20 points. That's fantastic. Now, again, what became the in-between score stuff in the run defense and all that was utter crap, but still, they played bend don't break the entire game. The Seahawks were 0-3 in the red zone in this game. Now, they got some gifts, but they were on the field for nearly 38 minutes, 25 more plays than their offense was. The defense was gassed, tired, and they're already depleted, and they somehow held Seahawks offense to 13 points. And again, even if it was 19, that's still a performance you would accept. You don't love the way you got there, and it's got to get better. My God, it's got to get better, but you'll take that every week if you play bend, don't break. You don't mind giving up yards. You don't mind being the Bears who will let you walk up and down that field, but they'll create turnovers, right? Because they believe, despite losing against San Francisco and against the Lions and their season, they believe our defense can keep us in games, can give our offense a chance. And that's what San Francisco's defense did again. They were terrible. Somehow they gave San Francisco a chance to win. And they had two pivotal plays that really could have turned this game around. The first one is 1st and 10. Seahawks are winning 10-3. Darnold gets stepped on. Ball pops out like, whoa, flies out of the air onto the ground. And you're like, oh my God. If the Niners recover that, they're going to have the football with momentum inside of Seattle's 40-yard line. This is where the tide turns. Oh, never mind. Yetur Gross-Matos forgot how to recover a fumble, which the $18 million he's getting paid, I cannot wait to get off the books because that dude, for as good as he was to begin the year, he stinks. And he always has stanked, whatever the active form or past form of stink is. I should know I am a journalism major and have a degree, but we move on. Then on 3rd and 17, again, you have the defense sitting there going, we have Seattle at 3rd and 17. What are they going to do? They might throw it deep, but they might run. And if they run, that's exactly what we want. And they allow Kenneth Walker on a 3rd and 17 to go 19 yards. 19 yards. We're letting dudes go 19 freaking yards on a 3rd and 17. I cannot tell you the expletives that left my mouth. The Lord looked down and said, I'm not happy with you, son. And I said, I'm sorry, God. I think I have a reason to be upset right now. Because the Niners' freaking defense can't stop Kenneth Walker on 3rd and 17. Man. Like, that's one of those plays where you see it happen and you just don't have words of I can't believe how bad this run defense is. We knew it was bad. We knew it wasn't good, but it's this bad? It's 3rd and 17, give up 19 yards? Bad? You held Jonathan Taylor to under 3 yards a carry on Monday Night Football when you knew the Colts wanted to run the football. And you give Kenneth Walker, who I knew, well, not him would be a problem. I knew Zach Charbonnet and those crappy little cutbacks. Every play was a freaking cutback for about 6 yards. They bulldozed this run defense. And I knew they could. I knew they would. But it was like, really 3rd and 17? God. There are not many things that make me want to smack my mama, and that was one of them. And Mom, I love you. I hope you're not listening to the show. Man. It was very frustrating. It's very, very, very frustrating, and not a way that I'm sure my father wanted to celebrate his birthday, nor a way where fans wanted to kick off 2026. They're thinking, oh, new year, new me, new year, new San Francisco 49ers, won 6 games in a row, turning the corner, and San Francisco said, new year, new me. Have you watched this defense? New year, same dog crap run defense you're going to get for this game and maybe a playoff run, which again begins in Philadelphia whether it's on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I'm hoping to God they give San Francisco a Sunday or Monday game. They've played back-to-back short weeks. Please give them. They went Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, to Saturday Night Football. Give them Monday Night Football in Philadelphia at the Link, Niners, Eagles. That's what they should do. Really, it's what they should do. But they'll probably give it to the Rams and anyways. But a big reason for why San Francisco's run defense was so bad, well, yes, they don't have, Micah Williams, no Nick Bosa, the good players on the team. It's because they can't tackle. And I don't know how long you've been subscribed to me on YouTube or have listened to the show on the audio podcasting platforms, which, by the way, like, share, and subscribe. Aha. I have hammered this point home for about, 3 years. And I get it. Personnel changes, coaching staff changes, come and go, and this, that, and the other. And, it's not as easy as I make it. I'm in my office with the podcast mic, telling you how things should go. I don't work for San Francisco. I don't work in the NFL. Now I work in the media, but our job is to complain, not fix the problem, right? But this team can't tackle. You go back to the last, 3 podcasts, 5 podcasts, whatever it is, you can hear me say, if they can just tackle, and on some games, they have. The Colts game, a big reason for that. The Cardinals game was a big one. The Bears game, lesser so, but it was less of a problem. But you can tell, well, okay, it's almost like San Francisco's defense, because they're young and they'll make mistakes. Here's what happens. They have a really bad run game where they can't tackle. They're running around, chicken with their head cut off. They're going for big hits and the forced fumbles, and they're too amped up. They're playing the Dre Greenlaw style of football, which is probably disrespectful to Dre Greenlaw, but you know what I mean? Talanoa Hufanga-like, where it's like, I'm just going to run out there and hope I hit something. And it's like, hey, that's stupid. Don't do that. They don't break down. They don't have fundamentals. They have that one bad game. And it's like the clock resets of like, oh, thanks for the reminder of what I'm doing wrong and what I should do better. Now, a lot of this is, again, they don't have starting caliber defensive players really outside of the secondary, and even that's questionable at times. But then as each game progresses, great tackling game, then a good tackling game, then an average tackling game, then a bad tackling game, then a game like this, where they missed 18 tackles. Nearly 20 missed tackles. There's a reason why the Seahawks, on the ground in this one, went for 180 yards. And you take away Sam Darnold's 9 yards, 171 yards, about 5 yards a pop, and 1 touchdown, in 2 20-yard runs, if not more. You can't miss 18 tackles. I'll give you 10, not 18. 18's a lot. 18 is a legal adult in the United States. You can't miss 18 tackles. You can't. I'll give you 10, not 18. And, okay, so you missed some tackles, a lot of them. But I think when you look at who's missing tackles, it tells you exactly why they couldn't stop the run. Tatum Bethune, their Mike linebacker, missed 5 tackles. Malik Mustafa missed 3 tackles, led the team. So your best safety and your Mike linebacker missed 8 tackles. That ain't gonna work. Your other safety, Jair Brown, who was just utter, he needs to go. He needs to go. He's so bad. Jair Brown needs to get released in the offseason. God, he's so bad. He missed 2 tackles. So your starting safeties missed 5 tackles. Half of the 10 I'll give you for free. They missed 5 tackles. D. Winters missed 2 tackles. So your starting linebackers missed 7 tackles. So your safeties and linebackers missed 12 tackles combined. Oh, you're already over your 10 limit. and Lenore missed 2 tackles. Those are the 5 guys who led the team in missed tackles. That's your best cornerback, your 2 linebackers, and your 2 starting safeties. If you're counting in your head, as a whole, of the 18 missed tackles San Francisco had, 15 of them came on San Francisco's defense's second and third levels. So the Seahawks don't mind if you get past their defensive line on the ground. Now, San Francisco couldn't because their offensive line was dookie. Shout out Green Day. But they don't mind getting past the defensive line. You want to know why? Their linebackers can tackle. Their secondary can tackle. They break down. They're aggressive. They're fundamentally sound in the tackling department. San Francisco is the exact opposite. They're run disciplined. They lack fundamentals. And if you get past the defensive line, which is pretty easy, they're just like, you want a free lane to run? Go. It's like when you are playing Madden or NCAA football and you want to grab onto the nearest defender and you grab onto, or you think you press 0, a circle, whatever it is, and they give you some dude in the left corner who's not even near the play, and you're pressing the dive button and they're just diving in the corner and you're like, what is happening? And you just completely whiff and you're like, oh, well, what happened there? It's not a user error. In this case, it's a user error for San Francisco. 15 of your tackles or of your missed tackles cannot be at the linebacker and safety positions. And really cornerback spots too. You are going to allow explosive runs on a continual basis. You ask yourself, why did the Seahawks win this game? They ran 40 times for 180 yards, 1 touchdown, including a 27-yard breakaway run because, again, second-level defensive players can't tackle well. And on top of that, that's the reason why the Seahawks had the ball for 38 minutes. Now, San Francisco's offense did their defense no favors. We can establish that. But sometimes you got to make your own luck. Sometimes you got to do yourself a favor. My mother-in-law, I hope I can get the quote right. She says, it's like sometimes if you believe in God, God gave you, the ability to not be stupid. And I think it more so just like you have common sense, right? When the crosswalk says don't walk, you probably shouldn't walk, right? When a opposing ball carrier is running towards you, you should probably break down, chop your feet, make a tackle. And look, I'm not saying it's that easy. It's not. I don't play in the NFL. I'm not 230 pounds of pure muscle, is how I'll word that, I guess. The holiday weight's certainly setting in, for sure. And it ain't muscle whatsoever. But, and I'm not seeing guys running 4.3s and 4.5s full speed at me and me saying, I can do it. I can. But I'm not paid to do that. Bethune is. Winters is. Jair Brown is. Mustafa is. Lenore is. And, I can excuse the run defense being bad on the defensive line because they're missing all their starters, basically. It's Bryce Huff, and that's kind of it. I don't know why this team refuses to start Alfred Collins. It makes no sense. Why is Clea Davis starting? Why? He sucks. He's really bad. Doesn't get to the quarterback, doesn't stop runs. He's not good. Why is he here? Now they need bodies, but it's like, really? Their starting linemen should be Collins and Jordan Elliott. I know there's rotations in place, but it's like Clea Davis is starting out there. But I can excuse poor run defense on the defensive line because that's why your linebackers are back there. And it's not like they are, getting stiff-armed to the ground. They're not getting juked out of their shoes. They're not getting decleated. they're just missing. They're evading their lanes. They are taking bad angles towards the football. They are going for the big hit to force a fumble and knock dudes out instead of breaking down. I am beating a dead horse. I've said this for months, that all San Francisco's defense has to do, because you're not going to get to the quarterback, and they kind of did a little bit in this game, but most games, you're not going to get to the quarterback. You're not really going to stop the run, and you're not going to be great in coverage. The one thing you can do to help yourself out is tackle. And they can't even do that. And that's why they lost this game. Again, the offense has to be better. I have more faith they'll bounce back against Philadelphia next weekend, but the reason they lost was because for how bad their tackling was. 18 missed tackles, 15 of those in the second and third levels. Just bad. A couple more points and we'll get out of here. Another big problem I had was how San Francisco schemed against Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because you want to put the ball in Sam Darnold's hands. If you're going to do that, well, then you got to guard JSN. Now, JSN didn't go off in this game, mind you, only 6 catches, 84 yards. His longest was for 19 yards. And I don't think Sam Darnold was very good. He's 20 for 26, so he has one more completion and one less attempt than Brock Purdy. Now, we had about 200 yards, which, okay, I think if you told most Niner fans, wow, Darnold's 20 for 26 and 200 yards and no touchdowns, no interceptions, and he got sacked twice, man, San Francisco won, right? No, they didn't. I didn't think Darnold was that impressive. They didn't need him to be. Like, this was a very 2019 Niners win by the Seahawks in 2025 of like, run the ball till they stop you. They didn't stop you. Okay, keep running the football and just have Darnold play catch on third down. That's what this was. And, you know, you had JSN not go off for much. He had a much worse game than he had week 1 against the secondary when they had their entire defense, you know, on display. But the fact is that you have Bernardo Green back, who hasn't been great, but is, I think, a fine player in year 2. Certainly had a sophomore slump in a lot of areas. And you had Lenore, who wanted to shadow JSN. And the one thing you don't want to do with a receiver like JSN, who is elite, and I get you get kind of caught in the catch-22 of like, okay, we're going to play a little off, give our defensive backs more time to react to what he's doing off the line of scrimmage, to react to his release package, right? I get that train of thought. However, with a player like JSN, I think it's worth bracketing him. I also think you want to play press coverage. The one thing I would like San Francisco to do, because if you can't pass rush, if you can't tackle, you at least have to get a body on somebody. Get in their face, get in their grill. The Seahawks can do it all day long. Now, again, I get it. You know, we have Jennings and Robinson and guys that can't release very well off the line. And JSN is the best receiver in football this year by a pretty wide margin, not named Puka Nacua. But get a body on him. Play press coverage. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but as soon as that ball is hiked, my hands are on him. Because if my hands are on him every single play, he feels me, he has to at least stop for a millisecond, and I know I should have some help in a bracket formation or at least over the top. And the Seahawks really didn't get too vertical in this game. It was all crossing stuff underneath, and I thought San Francisco's defense covered pretty well, all things considered. But to stop one of the best receivers in football, who you kind of did, but there are a couple of big third down plays and second down plays where you're just like, oh, it's back breaking. Get a body on him. You know, I would like to see San Francisco. You probably can't do it against Philadelphia, but if you play Seattle again, play some more press coverage. Get in their grill. If you are going to get beat over the top, so be it. But, you know, I'd rather you stop the run, play some press coverage, and make Darnold beat you. give your pass rush a little bit more time because they were getting home somewhat. It was inconsistent, but they got 2 sacks on Darnold. They gave him some pressure at times. Unfortunately, some of those times he was evading pressure and running for first downs on 3rd and 4 because Winters blitzed and didn't get a single hand on him. And then he got fell on and then hurt his ankle and may miss the wild card round against Philadelphia. But I don't know how many times this Niners defense has, and this goes back into missed tackles for a second. I don't know how many times they have blitzed and gotten a free blitzer, mind you. They blitz, no one touches them. They get to the person, the quarterback, and the quarterback just runs away. And you're like, man, and I would get it if it was Lamar Jackson. It happens sometimes against Kyler Murray, but I can probably count on both my hands the amount of times San Francisco has a clear shot at the quarterback and can't even get a finger on him. And it happened a handful of times, or at least one time in this game and a handful of times this season. But I think the pass rush did their job. You get 2 sacks. They got a fumble on Darnold in this one. He fell down and fumbled the football. And it's just like, no opportunity they had to win this game. Or, excuse me, every opportunity the Seattle Seahawks gave the 49ers to get back in this game, San Francisco either couldn't make a play offensively, couldn't recover a fumble, and couldn't make a tackle. Go rewatch the game. The Seahawks were behind the sticks a ton. They were getting penalized a lot. They had their 3rd string left tackle in for one play in this game. They were on 3rd and 14s and 3rd and 12s and 3rd and 17s. The Niners had the Seahawks at bay. They had them behind the sticks, and they let them go every single time. It was just and the final thing to end today's show, because we're going long. 2 things. Special teams. The Seahawks, I don't think, let Sky Moore touch the ball once. If they did, it was a punt. San Francisco, do that next time to Rashid Shaheed. He didn't kill you, but didn't help your cause. And Brian Robinson, hey, buddy, I know the Seahawks want to squib the football. I know the Seahawks, they're a really good special teams group. But how about we don't muff the opening kick of the second half when you're down by 1 score and then pin your offense inside their own 15-yard line? San Francisco started 3 drives in this game inside their own 15-yard line. And one of them was the Seattle offense, stalling in the red zone, but also because Brian Robinson can't pick up the football and does it lackadaisically. I get it. You don't want to, you get anxious and make a mistake, but it's like, hey man, you missed the ball. Maybe don't reach back like you're going through your wife's purse trying to find some mints of I can't find it, honey. I don't know where it's at. Pick up the freaking football, dude. Have some urgency. The Niners team lacked urgency in the biggest game of the season. From the head coach to play calling to defense, special teams, they lacked urgency on all 3 phases, including coaching. What the heck's that about? What the heck is that about? And then again, Jair Brown. I've already gone into my he sucks talk, but Jair Brown, dude, I cannot wait for the day you're off this team. And I like Jair Brown as a person. He seems nice, but don't you ever freaking call yourself, I'm a top 5 safety in football, dude. You're lucky to even be in football. You can't tackle. You can't cover. How dare you? That is disrespectful to bottom 5 safeties in football to call yourself a top 5 safety in football. You don't belong in a starting lineup. And the only reason, and I don't get this, what has Jair Brown done that Marquise Siegel, how do I word this? What has Jair Brown done that's worthy of playing over Marquise Siegel, or that Marquise Siegel couldn't do? Missed tackles? They both did that. Bad in coverage? They both did that. Jair Brown's had 1 good game. It was against Bryce Young. That guy sucks. We all prayed, and the Rams won their game played all their starters in week 18. You want to know why? Because they wanted to play Bryce Young. Jair Brown sucks. He's terrible. The Niners, and look, it's too late now, but the Niners did themselves a disservice. And maybe it saved some games during the year that, would have changed where they're at. But you're still the 6th seed. You're still the 6th seed. And I'm sure right now you'd rather play Chicago than Philadelphia. So being the 7th seed doesn't sound that bad. Now, look, I'm being dumb because you want to have a chance, go to the number 1 seed and get the bye week and all that crap. But what does Jair Brown do better than Marquise Siegel? Maybe there's stuff in the margins, but I don't see it. I mean, the Niners beat the Rams with Marquise Siegel playing free safety. Now, he wasn't great in that game, but why did we take away his ability to grow? Now, again, he wasn't good, so I get limiting his reps. I understand that, but now that you've seen Jair Brown for 3 years, had a really good first season, has been so bad. If he was a wide receiver, Shanahan would void his guarantees too. At least Siegel is a rookie and wasn't great because, well, I'm a 5th-round pick. I'm going to struggle. This is my first year in the NFL, and 4 games in, San Francisco said, you know what, man? You ain't it. Is Jair Brown it? I'd rather Marquise Siegel miss 5 tackles than Jair Brown miss 5 tackles. I'll tell you that. I'd rather Marquise Siegel be bad in coverage than Jair Brown be bad in coverage. And maybe the floor is much lower with Siegel, and it was a floor-saving decision, but I'm seeing the floor, and it ain't Purdy. So that's my spiel. I'll leave you there. San Francisco loses this game 13-3, a longer podcast because there was so much to say, so much to get into. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. I have lost friends over this game. No, I'm kidding. But I have blocked numbers because of this game. Social media is a place I would like not to be on because of this game. And it has the entire fan base feeling negative. Now, to end somewhat positively, look, you lost this game. We lost this game. They lost this game. It sucks. It really sucks. We all wanted the number 1 seed. We all wanted a bye week. Then here comes Fred Warner, maybe. You wanted the rest. You wanted those 5 potential straight home games. I will say this, though. Maybe losing, and I'm not going to say it was a good thing because it wasn't, but sometimes losing can snap you out of it, right? You've won 6 games in a row, you're feeling yourself, and then bang, here comes a dose of reality. And for young players like this defense has, I feel like a loss like this could be a dose of reality. Now, I hope guys get healthy. You get Pearsall back. You get Trenton back. It's not like Philadelphia can't be beaten. Their offense is not good. Now, they have their own unique challenges. They have a good offensive line. They have Saquon Barkley, who's not having a great year by any means. They have a really dysfunctional offense that Jalen Hurts not having a great year. A.J. Brown is a diva. Again, they are a good on-paper offense, but they are not executing at a high level like they were 2 years ago, or 1 year ago, excuse me. And Jalen Hurts cannot see the middle of the field. Now, he'll probably see it more against San Francisco, but I do think they can be had. The odds Shanahan and Purdy and the offense plays this bad again, to me, it's very slim. So I do think there is reasons to be positive. Obviously, you want to play later in the week, hopefully on Monday, at least on Sunday. Please, Goodell, in the NFL, make it right. You can't have San Francisco play back-to-back-to-back short week games in the playoffs. You can't do that. That is by far very unfair to the team and whatnot. But right now, San Francisco is the 6th seed in a meeting with the Eagles on the schedule at the Link in Philadelphia. Raucous crowd. And I cannot wait because the best part of being the 6th seed, and although it's bittersweet knowing what could have been, you get to play spoiler. And you hope you can spoil 3 teams' season. And it does seem like that if you look at predictions, and maybe we'll do this as the week goes on, giving our NFL playoff predictions, the Niners' path to winning may go from Philadelphia to the Rams at SoFi and Seattle at Lumen Field. If seeding and things work out, matchup-wise work out, I think the Packers can beat the Bears. I really do. I think the Rams are probably going to beat the Panthers, but who knows? Stafford isn't playing his best football right now. And I think the Niners have a shot. And all you can ask for is a shot, right? We can all sit back and imagine what this season could have been had all the guys not gotten hurt, had you had more consistency out of the defense. And that'll always be one of the added wrinkles to this season of, what if, right? But under Shanahan, it's been a lot of what ifs and what could have beens, and that's the NFL. Guys get hurt. But the only thing you can ask for is to not be the other 18 teams not playing come next weekend. And San Francisco's in the dance. They're in the race. And if you at least give them a chance at the starting line, that's all you can ask for. I know they have holes. That sucks. They have issues. That sucks. We'll get into how they can win and lose that game against Philadelphia later on this week. But all you can ask for is an opportunity, right? You cannot promise the same outcome, but you can promise the same opportunities, right? And whether San Francisco loses against Philadelphia or wins, I think it's all on the table. And that to me is a much bigger reason to be happy than sit back and sulk over losing Week 18 against Seattle. Maybe if things go your way, Carolina beats the Rams and Seattle loses to Green Bay. That's the hope, right? That would be what you want. So you're rooting for Carolina against the Rams, and you're rooting for the Packers to beat the Bears, and then you're rooting for, obviously, San Francisco to beat Philadelphia, because if that happens, you're playing Carolina, and then you're playing the winner of Green Bay and Seattle. So a lot can happen. If this year has told us anything, anybody can get beaten any given Sunday. San Francisco wasn't supposed to be here, shouldn't be here, and they are. I will take that and run with it. My belief, although it's taken a dip, is not gone. And that's where I'll leave you. The regular season is over. San Francisco finishes 12-5. It's a pretty good year. 12-win season in a reset year, a retool year. It's pretty good. The offense is hopefully fully healthy entering the wild card round, but bring it on. Philadelphia, bring it on. Give us your best, but I'll be praying for your worst because it helps us a lot out here in the Bay Area. That said, though, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. Hopefully you guys can like, share, and subscribe on the audio podcasting platforms and on YouTube and on your audio podcasting platforms. Leave us that 5-star review. I know you're sad. I'm sad too. But the season is not over yet, and a brand new one is beginning. Erase it, wash it, move forward. Everyone is 0-0 starting Monday. And San Francisco has a chance. If you want to go see that game in Philadelphia at the Link, Niners, Philadelphia. Don't know what day yet. Hopefully it's Monday or Sunday, but use our promo code 40Niners Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com. You can save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Take your mom, take your dad, take your bro, take your sis, get out there, Philadelphia, cheesesteak, save $20 using that promo code 40Niners Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com, and follow us on social media. I will not be at the game, but I will be on Twitter reacting to it live every single step of the way, leading from Monday, Shanahan's press conference with the media, with the injury report, and on to the wild card round and the preview for that game on this very channel in the next few days or so. At 49ers_access is the X or Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. We're so close, folks. We are getting their wild card round matchup, and NFL Niners are back in the playoffs. That doesn't get you happy. You are a terrible person to be around, because I am very excited here. Thank you guys for watching, listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. San Francisco gets the loss 13-3. Can they bounce back against Philadelphia next weekend? Stay tuned for the preview episode later this week. And as always, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.